Hi everyone, in this video we'll be talking about another endocrine gland, that is the thyroid gland. So thyroid gland is present in the neck region. It is a small butterfly shaped gland. So it is present right in front of the trachea, so in front of the breathing tube. Trachea is nothing but the breathing tube, and this is present in front of it on the ventral side of trachea. So thyroid gland is a butterfly shaped gland. So what do you mean by a butterfly shaped gland? So as you know, a butterfly, it looks like with a small body and it has bigger wings. So on either side of its body. So thyroid gland is something similar to it. So as you can see here, it has two lobes, the thyroid gland, and these two lobes are present on either side of the trachea. Now these two lobes are joined together by a small connective tissue which is called the isthmus. So thyroid gland is a small butterfly shaped gland present in the neck region in front of the trachea or the breathing tube, and it has two lobes. These two lobes are present on either side of trachea and are attached to each other by a small flap of connective tissue which is called isthmus, and this is called the isthmus, this whole thing, right? And as you can see, the thyroid gland is not a very smooth gland. It has a lot of bumps, and these bumps are nothing but the follicles. So it has a granular structure on it. So all over you can see it has a granular structure, and this granular structure is due to the presence of something called follicles. So what are follicles? Follicles are nothing but they are small structures which are made up of follicular cells. As you can see here you can see the structure of a follicle. So this is an enlarged structure of the follicle. Here you can see that there is presence of follicular cells. So this here whole thing is a follicle, this part. And this follicle is nothing but it is a cavity that is enclosed by follicular cells. So these tiny cells are follicular cells, and they enclose a cavity, and this cavity is filled with the colloid. So the structure of a follicle resembles something like a grape. So if you see a grape, for example, if you cut a grape open, I can see that it has a skin around it. So inside the skin you have a jelly-like substance, right? So inside you have some jelly-like substance. So that is the structure of grape, and this is similar to that. So follicle is very much similar to a structure of grape. The skin you can be represented by the follicular cells. So you can think that the skin here is representing the follicular cells, and the colloid, there is colloid inside it. So the jelly-like structure inside of the grape is nothing but the colloid. So that is how a follicle looks like. Now these follicular cells are the ones that are responsible for the production of the thyroid hormones. And these follicles are present in the thyroid gland, and these are connected by a tissue called the stromal tissue. So in between the follicles there is the matrix in between this whole follicles is nothing but the stromal tissue. That is this. So this whole thing is a stromal tissue. So let's see that, and we'll also be discussing about the thyroid hormones. So as I said earlier, the follicular cells are responsible for the production of thyroid hormones. So what are the thyroid hormones that are produced by these follicular cells? The thyroid hormones are T3 and T4 hormones in short. So what is the T3 and T4 hormones? T3 and T4 names are actually given on the basis of the presence of the number of iodine atoms. So in T3 hormone, as you can see, the full form of that hormone is triiodothyronine hormone. Here there is actually a molecule of amino acid. So that is the basal molecule, like that is the basic structure of the hormone. Upon that there is 3 iodine atoms attached. So when 3 iodine atoms are attached to a tyrosine molecule, then it is called a T3 hormone or triiodothyronine. So tri means 3, iodo is nothing but the iodine atom, and thyronine. Thyronine is the representation of this amino acid. Then we have the T4 hormone. The T4 hormone is also known as the thyroxine hormone, and this is the tetraiodothyronine hormone. So tetra means 4 and iodo means iodine. So we have 4 iodine atoms attached to the tyrosine molecule. So what is the tyrosine molecule here? Tyrosine is nothing but it is an amino acid. Now you must be thinking, what is an amino acid? Amino acid is the very basic structure that is present in the protein. So protein is actually a complex molecule. So this protein is made up of a bunch of amino acids. So amino acids join together to form peptides. So peptides are nothing but they are 10 amino acids joined together. Now these peptides join together to form a molecule of protein. So whenever we consume protein, it gets broken down into amino acids when we digest our food, and these amino acids are the ones that get absorbed in our body. The colloid in the follicles is actually, it plays a very important role in joining the tyrosine and the iodine atoms. So that forms the hormone altogether. So these two hormones are the important hormones that are released by the thyroid gland. Now these perform very important functions in our body. So these are here I have listed some of the functions. We'll be discussing more of the functions when we'll discuss about the disorders of the thyroid gland. So here you can see BMR regulation. So what is BMR? BMR is nothing but basal metabolic rate. So what is the basal metabolic rate? Basal metabolic rate is nothing but it is the amount of calories that you burn when you sleep. So that is the amount of energy that you burn when you sleep or when you are at complete rest. Okay, so basal metabolic rate regulation. So what do you mean by regulation? It regulates the basal metabolic rate. So it regulates the amount of energy that is consumed by the body at rest. Then it also regulates the metabolism. So it helps in metabolism of everything, glucose, fats, proteins, etc. It increases the glucose sensitivity of the body as well. Then there is the RBC formation. It helps in formation of red blood cells. By it actually it has some effect on the kidney, and the kidney in turn also helps in this RBC formation by releasing erythropoietin. Then it also helps in brain and nervous development. So especially in pregnant women, it helps in the development of brain development of the fetus. Then it helps in the heart function. So it helps in metabolism of fats and all, and in turn it helps in heart function. So it keeps the arteries, like the flow of arteries, proper in the heart. There is also a lot of other functions, and we'll discuss these functions in detail, and we'll discuss about the disorders of the thyroid gland, because then we'll be discussing the symptoms, and it will be easy for us to understand each and every function. There is also presence of a third hormone. This is called the thyrocalcitonin hormone. So this hormone is actually produced by the C cells of the thyroid gland. So what are C cells? As you can see here, the C cells are nothing but these are small cells that are located adjacent to the follicular cells. So as you can see, this and all these are C cells. And these cells produce a hormone called thyrocalcitonin. So what, as you can guess from the name of it, it is a thyroid hormone that is involved in calcium homeostasis. So here you can see it is thyrocalcitonin. Thyro means thyroid and calci means calcium. So it is involved in calcium homeostasis. So what do you mean by homeostasis? As we studied earlier when we were studying about hypothalamus, we said that it helps in maintaining the homeostasis of the body. So homeostasis is nothing but maintenance of a healthy balance in our body. So thyrocalcitonin helps in maintaining healthy balance of this calcium in our body. And it also helps in bone health maintenance. So this actually helps in absorption of calcium by the bones. So it helps, it prevents reabsorption of calcium from bones. So it prevents the calcium from going from bones into the blood. So that's what the function it maintains. So we'll be studying about another gland now, that is called the parathyroid gland, and this is also related to calcium homeostasis. So parathyroid gland is nothing but these are another tiny glands that are present on the thyroid gland. So as you can see here, This is the posterior view of the or the dorsal view of the thyroid gland. So this is the back portion of the thyroid gland. And here you can see that on each lobe a pair of glands is present. These yellow ones are nothing but the parathyroid glands. So totally there are 4 in number, and each pair is present on the one lobe of the thyroid gland. And what these do is they produce a parathyroid hormone. Now this hormone does the opposite of the thyrocalcitonin. As I said earlier, this hormone too helps in calcium homeostasis. But thyrocalcitonin, it decreases the calcium levels in the blood. So serum calcium levels are decreased by this hormone. However, the parathyroid hormone, what it does is, it does the opposite. It increases the levels of calcium in the blood. So, how it does it? So, as I said here earlier, thyrocalcitonin prevents resorption of calcium from the bone into the blood. But parathyroid hormone, what it does is does the opposite. What happens is, it helps in resorption of calcium from the bone into the blood, and it increases ultimately the calcium levels of the blood. So it does it by 3 ways. So one is by the bone, second by the gut, and third from the kidneys. So from bones it helps in taking calcium from the bones into the blood. In the gut, what it does is it helps in increasing the calcium from our food. So calcium absorption increases from the food in the gut. So calcium, what happens is the food stays longer in the gut and it helps in absorption of calcium. In kidneys too, it helps in reabsorption of calcium. So certain salts and water are actually, what happens is they are filtered out. But what it does is, this parathyroid hormone specifically, it will take calcium and helps in reabsorption of it. So as you can see from this diagram here, what TCT or thyrocalcitonin does is, it helps in absorption of calcium by the bone, or it helps in maintaining the bone as it is. So it prevents it from losing calcium to the blood. However, parathyroid hormone, it absorbs calcium from the bone into the blood. So blood calcium increases. Similarly, this parathyroid hormone acts on the gut. It helps in the absorption of calcium from the food into the blood. And again, it does so same in the kidneys. So we have glomeruli, right? So in that, it helps in reabsorption. In the coming videos, we'll also be studying about all other glands and many other hormones. Thank you.